Hello everyone, we are here with SolarEdge, sales rep for New South Wales, Brent here. I wanted to get Brent in to basically continue the solar education series, specifically with SolarEdge. So we're a massive advocate for SolarEdge. We use them in, I'd say, 80% of our installs, and they fit extremely well in terms of their solutions for the Northern Beaches. So I wanted to sort of help you make decisions about SolarEdge with Brent here, giving his input. Basically.
Thanks so much for having us here today and being involved. I've been watching your videos from afar, and good to be involved. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you. So SolarEdge, who are they?
So SolarEdge, for many years, have been the world's leader in DC optimized solutions. We're also more broadly one of the largest inverter manufacturers in the world for the residential market. We have a huge part of our business in the United States of America, and then another massive part of our business in Europe. We manufacture all over the world. We've got manufacturing hubs in Korea, Vietnam, China, Hungary, Romania, Israel, Mexico. So lots of manufacturing to keep up with that demand for a product which is a world leader. We're in the top 500 for the financial institutions in the world, and very secure, long-standing market leader in inverter technology.
So a lot of reassurance there for sure about the tech and the company. So a lot of guarantees and then warranty. Now, SolarEdge is a little bit different from other types of hardware out there. What is DC optimized, and how does SolarEdge sort of coin that phrase essentially?
So I guess the thing to understand about solar is that there's three basic types of solar systems available in the residential market here in Australia. For the longest time now, the majority of systems have been what we call a string system, where all the panels are connected up on a string. That comes with certain limitations, with high voltage DC on your roof that you can't control. And it also comes with design limitations where you can't use all of the roof because the tracker is centralized down on the ground. The tracker is what gets the most energy out of the panel. So if you've got one panel which is performing badly, it can affect a large chunk of your roof. So then there was a second technology that was invented called microinverters, and it's a bit of a brute force solution in my opinion, because you're putting an inverter now behind every panel. Now, the problem with that is that inverters are actually the most delicate part of a solar system, and the last place you generally want them is on an Australian roof, which is an incredibly harsh climate. So SolarEdge came along with a hybrid approach, generation 3 of solar, if you will, where we take the best of both worlds. We've got a central inverter down on the ground where it makes sense to keep your delicate power electronics out of the Aussie heat. But then we do have componentry on the roof as well called the DC optimizer. And this is about extracting every ounce of energy that you can get out of every panel, making it a safe solar system, making it a fully monitored solar system, and giving you that flexibility to really use all of your roof and future-proof your home.
Some really good points there about the difference between micros and optimizers there for sure. In terms of why SolarEdge, could you sort of give me some pointers, especially about the home solution and the smarts involved in that? Why would people go down that road?
Yeah, absolutely. I bought a SolarEdge system for my own family about 6 years ago, and the thing that I loved even back then was that they had technology beyond just dealing with the roof. They were already market leaders in DC coupling batteries, which is a good approach that we can talk about later. But they also had a vision of beyond solar, thinking about the home, thinking about the way that we connect the big energy usage in our home. So that's actually finally come to Australia now in a really mature way with the SolarEdge Home solution, which we announced late last year. And it means that you can have a complete solution for your solar with safe solar. You've got storage from us with SolarEdge batteries. We also have our EV charger available, and all of these foundation products that make up the big energy use in your home click together in one app, one simplified, simple user interface for the homeowner that makes it really simple to understand what's going on with the energy in your home. This is a fantastic solution. Having been in the industry for a long time, there's nothing worse than offering a customer a solution which is really piecemeal, where they've got, here's your app for the solar, here's an app for the battery, here's an app for the EV charger, here's an app for your underfloor heating or for your pool pumps. Next thing you know, you've got 5 apps on your phone dealing with energy, and it's overwhelming, right? We want something simple so that we can just get on with our work-life balance and get our energy bills down and get our carbon footprint down. We don't want to be bamboozled by, too much of your life being lost in apps. So I really like that approach that we have with SolarEdge, with the My SolarEdge app, just tying it all together in one simple user interface for the customer, giving them control over their home's energy needs.
Yep, yeah, I can definitely give a bit of background to that as well with the people that we've dealt with. Everyone that has a SolarEdge home sort of smart solution that we've installed has been, they've absolutely loved the fact that they can stay in one place. So it really does make quite a difference to understand what's happening with your home's power consumption. Now on the subject of products, we sort of touched upon it a bit there. So you got the home battery, the home hub, you got the Genesis, you got the new EV charger that's just come out. Can you run through a few bits of information, key points that clients might want to hear about?
Yeah, sure. In our single phase inverter range, we have 2 main products there. There's the SolarEdge Home Hub, which is like the brains of the SolarEdge Home solution, but we also uniquely offer the Genesis product range. And I think it's easy to think of that as basically a customer who wants to dip their toe into solar and have a simplified experience. They're not so much worried about the monitoring. They want a good quality system. Maybe they've got a challenging roof. They want to work, to have a good quality system with long warranties that can utilize more of their roof. That makes sense to look at the Genesis product. But for anybody who's looking at monitoring on their home, they want to understand their home's energy bills, and they want to future-proof their home, then the Home Hub makes a lot more sense because it is EV ready, it is battery ready, and it's backup ready. And that's really the crucial difference here, is backup. The fact that the Home Hub inverter with a battery will allow you to then run your home when the grid is down, which the Genesis cannot.
No, not at all. Okay, yeah, I completely agree with all of that. The Home Hub is it's an excellent choice when it comes to making sure the home continues to power on. The one thing that we talked about earlier on, which is getting a bit nerdy, is the grid and the issues around the grid currently. SolarEdge has a bit of a unique position in terms of the stability of the grid for future perspectives. Be good to sort of run through that. I think a lot of people will find this quite interesting.
I wouldn't say that our perspective is unique in what we think is going to happen. There's quite a lot of clarity around what is happening in Australia with regards to our grid. We're transitioning. It's a once-in-a-lifetime transition from our traditional fossil fuel generation, which has been largely centralised with big coal plants running New South Wales. They are all coming to the end of their life, which means they need to be replaced. And that comes with new forms of generation, whether it be wind, solar, batteries, hydro, a mix. But that basically means that then we're going through a transition, and anytime there's a transition, there's an element of chaos, right? So the grid now, with lots of solar coming in, is moving around. And so the operators who run the grid, who are responsible for the security of our grid and energy security, are more and more concerned about how much people are allowed to connect to the grid, how much they're allowed to utilize the grid. And there's quite a lot of policy being written and evolving around this position. So just because we have the ability to chuck on a lot of solar today doesn't mean that we will always have that ability as the grid gets more busy. That makes jumping onto solar now a great proposition. But this is particularly interesting with batteries. Batteries for us are all about DC coupling. DC energy is what we produce on the roof, and it's what we store in batteries. So we think it makes sense to take the energy straight from the roof and put it in the battery. Whereas a lot of other brands do what's called an AC coupled battery. This is a grid coupled battery which relies on the grid to get the energy from your roof out of the inverter back into that battery, store it, then use it at night. So there's a lot of conversions there, but there's also a reliance on the grid. The grid is the glue that pulls their solution together. The problem with this is that as the grid gets busier, there's more likely to be clamps down on how much you can export. That's going to directly affect those solutions' ability to charge their batteries. They're going to have less, because if you turn down your solar, you turn down how much you've got to put in your battery and how much you can run at night. Whereas for us, we don't have that limitation. If somebody turns down our inverter, that's just more energy to go into the battery. So people with SolarEdge are uniquely positioned for these kinds of things to occur, because as they tinker with what's going on the grid, we're sitting back behind the meter, not worried at all in the slightest. Now, in addition to that, we then have a lot of partnerships with grid services, allowing customers to tap in and utilize their systems really well in this very interesting opportunistic time. Things like VPP, virtual power plants, we're well positioned for that. And the warranty of our battery is a little bit unique as well, in that with a lot of other products, they have a catch in the warranty. It's a lot like a car. When you buy a car, they give you 5 years or 60,000 Ks, whichever you hit first, right? And you know what you're going to hit first. It will be the 60,000 Ks, right? So with SolarEdge as our battery, we have a 10-year unlimited cycle count battery warranty, and that means that you can thrash the battery twice or 3 times a day, and it's not going to eat into your kilometers, if you will, that you're allowed to put through the battery, whereas most batteries on this market have quite tight restrictions on your cycle count and your throughput and what you're allowed to do and how many times you're allowed to use your battery per day. We don't have that. So we're very robust and resilient for these sorts of situations that you asked about, where the grid is changing. I'm very buoyant about how we sit as a technology to take advantage of this. And as this tweaky conversation moves into more of a mainstream conversation, more and more people will be looking very seriously at SolarEdge than other solutions for those reasons.
Yeah, it's excellent sort of fodder for your brains out there, and mine, to be fair. Okay, well, I think, is there anything else you'd like to add to this conversation, Brent, from your perspective?
Yeah, look, there's the only other thing that I mentioned. I mean, I've touched on the battery a little bit with the great warranty, but I think it's also worth talking about efficiency. Again, we're at the pointy end of the conversation here, talking a little bit nerdy, but efficiency matters. If you're talking about solar, there's a lot of people who go down a rabbit hole looking at their panel efficiency. How much light am I converting into electricity to use in my home? That absolutely matters. A big part of your investment in a solar system is actually the solar panels. But your inverter technology, I would say, is equally important, and your battery technology is more so. Because every time you put energy in and out of your battery, there may be conversions, and that induces loss. Now, if you're looking at a SolarEdge system, because there's no loss realistically coming from the roof into the battery, we've only got one conversion. That gives you and your customers approximately 10% more energy per year that they can utilize in their homes. Trying to get 10% out of any other component in a solar system, you would be buying. It's huge. It's a massive amount of energy. We're talking 10% here. So that's not to be sneezed at. And I feel that that's something that we, as a company, we need to be really clear about that benefit to homeowners of our solution, depending on the price point, where you are, who you're working with. If you've got a customer, an installer like Perfect Solar Power who know our product really well, you should be getting a great deal because they know how to install it well and get it done well. But regardless of where we sit in the market, we have one of the best solutions for storage on the market, and it all comes back to efficiency. If you're efficient, you've got a great sustainable solution to get your home's energy bills down, because you're taking advantage of every electron off that roof and utilizing it all.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's a really valuable point. Brent, thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure.
Amazing.
Thanks for having me on.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.